Let's start with some presentations. So can you please introduce yourself, each other, really quick? So go for it. You're the first.
Thank you, Shubham. My name is Dimitri, and I co-founded Superforge. It's a web agency specialized in NoCode, and we build digital products with three main drivers: product, design, and NoCode development.
Okay, amazing. Thanks for the introduction. Francis?
Hi, Shubham. I'm Francis, co-founder and CEO at Alegria. Alegria Group is the first leading ecosystem in Europe dedicated to NoCode and low-code. We have three specifications: Alegria Academy, which is the first school for professionals in NoCode; Alegria Studio, which is, like it says, just a studio to create great applications with NoCode tools; and Alegria Network, our network of 250 freelancers working with us to create best NoCode solutions. And we are in 5 countries now.
Awesome. Thanks a lot for your intro.
Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for the invitation, Shubham. My name is Pierre, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Cube, a French NoCode agency specialized in NoCode technologies and mainly Bubble, Airtable, and Make. I'm recently the new president of the French Syndicate of NoCode Professionals too, and very happy to be here to discuss all this stuff with you.
Thank you very much for all the introduction. So let me just first introduce the subject now that we know who we have on stage. I wanted to have a panel talking about agencies because that's a big part of the no-code ecosystem. I know that Alegria is not only an agency, and I know that both, like all of you, are doing more than just building. But still, I wanted to focus on that. Why? Because when an ecosystem, it could be in API, it could be in front end, back end, etc. When it grows, it needs some actors that are more than freelancers. You know, when we start, they're like, hey, let's bring some freelancers and make some apps and stuff. But sometimes we need people to have bigger groups of people working and to handle all the projects. So we can maybe start with one thing. You know, when you have a normal agency, I would say normal a coding agency, the process is first discovery. I'll try to understand what my clients want. Second, I would say build, kind of design the product. And third, we will build it, you know, with coding tools in a general way. And fourth, we'll probably iterate. Is that the same when you go on no-code? Maybe we can start with you. Is that the same thing and we just change the code by no-code?
So first that, since I never worked in a classical agency before, it's hard to make the great comparison. But from my technical background, I could say that, and from what I picked up from the market, it's really similar in the way processes are done, like ideation, doing some work on the project, some design, and then you do the development part, and then you QA, and then you deliver. So the whole process is the same. Some parts are different, but
yeah, what would be the difference?
Yes, it looks exactly the same, but in fact, it's totally different. And I think the main difference is not the steps, but it's the way we are doing things, because the culture of no-code is totally different than the culture of code. And I think this is the main part, and I'm very happy to see so many developers coming to no-code, and also guys coming from no-code up to low-code, and perhaps later code also. So it's very important, and I know that the culture of coding is very strong, and I speak today with some developers here on some booths, just knowing nothing about no-code today, and just thinking that no-code is not for them, but it's definitely not the case. So we have a lot to learn from both culture, but definitely when you are doing a project with no-code, you are really ready to test fast, to fail fast. You are ready to try to organize things differently, and I guess most of you are using Agile methodology, and definitely if Agile would not exist before no-code, we should have created it, because it's definitely completely fits to what we are doing in no-code. So the projects most of the time are shorter, faster, cheaper, And so you have also very specific things that you don't have to do. For instance, you don't have to review code because most of the time you don't have. And also perhaps one thing which is very interesting to see is we begin to have more and more projects with both code and no code. So that means we definitely need to know how to work together with those two cultures, even if it's pretty different in the way of we are doing things. And I guess what we are going to discover in the couple of next year is this merge. And the merge is not just because of low code, it's just low code is something in between. But the merge is really between the two different cultures, because you need to know that when you work with people coming from no code, most of the time they have never wrote a line of code before. So by definition, their culture, their way of doing things, their way of thinking is totally different. But we need to work together.
Awesome. Thanks for that that take, and that brings me to the no code is easy thing. You know, like as you said, there is two different cultures, the coding culture and the no code culture, and we have seen today, you know, like today what Mathieu presented as OAuth, it's present everywhere in no code. So what do you think about like people saying that no code is easy, and especially I would say on the developer way, we're like, hey, why would we do a no code agency? Like no code isn't it for just playing? So maybe Pierre, you can just tell us, like, do we need to have professionals in the companies that you're running?
Yeah, I think at Cube it's a motto. No code is not equal to no expertise. For 3 years, we tried to accompany clients and people understanding that there is not only technical stuff. There is the understanding of a brief, this capacity to make choices and the good features to implement. So you have to have a big point of view for a web project, even if it's for ops or only app. There is a lot of complex things and issues. And I think you have two kind of profiles. You have the 5-leg chip, which is much more a freelancer or an agency that are accompanying you from A to Z on a project. He has to begin with understanding a brief. And this is the most difficult thing, I think, in an agency stuff, and the expertise begin there. After this, you can have profile that implement it and understanding the brief. So you have the technical part. And for a no-coder that just begin, you will do stuff very easily. As Francis said, it's faster. It's very easy to do things, to fail, to iterate. But you'll stop at the MVP level. If you want to scale, and I think we'll talk about scale after, you have to put a little bit of expertise at a time. Because if you are not on the part of the understanding of the brief and just on the implementation of the technical stuff, you can do two kind of bubble web application with 200 workflows or with 20 workflows. And it's not the same at performance and for the scale period.
Yeah, that's super interesting, because we see a lot of parallels, you know, with the developer world, where like there is thousands of ways of making an app, and once you made it, it will all depend on the life of the app. So that brings me to a subject, which is the technical depth, which is a big thing in the tech world, which is like, do we do that badly, but we don't care because we just need to test that? Or do we make sure it's polished, it's perfect, and it's amazing so that it can scale to 10 million thousand? So usually, and that's a stereotype, but I would say people that are developers and lab developers are mostly into like, let's make the thing that will scale, etc. But most of the time we don't need it. And on the no-code side, the stereotype is, oh, let's just do it, and it will just magically scale, because we, like citizen developer, have no ideas about that. So I would like to ask maybe to you, Dimitri, what are the best practices? And probably don't hesitate to be more concrete here, but what are the best practices to make an app or a service that would scale? Like, what are the errors not to do, in your opinion?
First, I would say it really depends on the context, if you need it to scale or not, if the client has this budget to make these efforts to this. So it really depends on that first. And then if you want to build correctly, you have to, it's really like code, name correctly, document correctly, not document everything. Maybe you need to code the right way in order to not be able, not need to document. So it's and also what's mostly forgotten is you build it, you understand, you build it, and then the QA part is mostly overseen because you build it, it seems to work, but to test something from A to Z, to test every possibilities, it's a mindset. And you need this to be able to understand that what you did before was not the right way because of the test you did.
Okay, got it. Yeah, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, yes. One thing which is also most important today is the architecture of the technology you are going to choose from the wide range of softwares you have today. Just to speak about automations, you have perhaps 10 different kind of tools you can use with all their aspects in terms of security, scalability, community also to be trained on it, to use it. So there's a real knowledge to know today when you have the chance to create a lot of projects, to test those tools in real life, you can have better visibility on which architecture to choose from at the very beginning. And as you said, Dimitri, it's really depending on each cases. You can, for instance, make a lot of things with Bubble, but you can also plug another database in the backend of Bubble. You can choose different kind of other tools to make your backend workflows. So the possibility of the puzzle in NoCode is just so great, and it's becoming a real expertise to know how to choose the right tools at the right time. And it's definitely not the same when you speak to a large company or you are with a startup to make an MVP.
Okay, yeah, I think it's super clear. And now I would like us to just be in the shoes of, let's say, the CEO of a company that wants an app to build. So he or she heard about NoCode. He said that it's cheaper, it's faster, we can iterate easier and faster. We're like, great, that's a great idea. Why not build on that? But now there is a big question that is asked to that person, which is, should I go with an agency or should I go with a couple of freelance? Is the answer the same that is in tech, if there is one, or is it different? How this person can make his or her choice?
I think it's just a question of time. Always time. If it's a CEO that's just asking this question, what is my day-to-day? Am I doing business or tech? Am I doing tech and business? What is the balance? And I think if you are on the MVP part and you have to go to the market, the time to market is very, very important. You can do a lot of things by yourself through the NoCode tools, and the do-it-yourself culture is extremely important for this. And I think NoCode brings tech to a lot of people that was not a tech profile, and this is a revolution on this aspect. But very quickly, if you have the business, the volume of clients and a lot of operations to work on, you have a question to ask. Do I keep this inside with resources and I hire people, or I trust a technical partner, a freelancer, and I think all the jobs are the same. The same with an accountable expert that just is on the side of the CEO because he's controls, grasp his finances, but he needs someone to help him in the long run. And I think this is the way that we have to see it, not true or false, but an hybridation, a period of hybridation, and that's where the agencies may be very relevant.
Mm-hmm. Okay, super interesting. I think that's makes me remind of one thing. Is one of the question that person can ask as well is that, should I do it in NoCode or not? Because it seems like the El Dorado, the perfect world where everyone seems a click away. But does it happen that sometime you just say no to clients? You're just like, hey, you probably should not work with us because
we have to.
You have to. Yeah, maybe you can start. Then what kind of project do you say no to?
So it happens.
Okay.
And it's mostly if, since we do not do native apps in Superforge, if it's native that the client needs for some native functionalities, and they really need it, so I brainstorm with him to understand. and make him understand, don't you need maybe a web app to test your ID instead of a native app? If he needs a native app, then I redirect to someone else. And it also depends on the mean of the clients and if he wants to be able to iterate faster with the disponibility of someone. So, because one-shot project is not the same as going through a small iterative path for a long run. So maybe a freelancer could be a better match if you want to be a company for a long run with disponibilities that are not the same in agencies. I would say that.
Okay. And you?
Yes, we have statistics on this. We refused roughly 10% of the leads we have today. And we failed around 10% of our project, which is large for an innovation company like us, out of 400 projects in 2 years. The main reason when we refuse, sometimes we could accept them, but it's really a question of risk that we need to share with the customer. Sometimes you know that you have a great solution, a great tool, but the tool is developed by a small company, they didn't raise a lot of money, perhaps the tool could disappear in the next 6 months if they don't raise money. The technical challenges could be high, and you need to speak about this really with the truth with the customer. And most of the time, we decide together to go or not go on those kind of projects. We are really happy to push the limits of the NoCode. We are really happy to try to test new things. Most of the time, also with the help of the software editors. But sometimes it's just impossible to release the expectation of the customer, and we need to tell them. The worst case is when we take it and we fail, but it happens also for sure.
And just to complete very quickly, there is a dream about NoCode that because it's cheaper and faster, you can do everything with 10 or 20K. It's a dream. And that's why I think agencies have a big responsibility to say for 10K, 5K, 15K, 20, 60, this kind of budget, you have to make choices. And you have to focus on maybe do 2 or 3 features, this kind of platform, this kind of layout, this kind of API connections, but you cannot implement everything just because it's no code and it's a party. No, you have to make choices. And that's where it's very difficult to find a good balance with the budget of the client and to understand the roadmap, to have a first batch, a second batch, and make it scale with time. And the most of the time, the clients take the resources internally and is totally independent in the long run after this.
So yeah, it just made so much clearer that it's not only a technical thing. Like it's just so human related. It's just so, as you say, understanding the brief, understanding what the clients want, and so that's what an agency is. It's not only like, hey, I'm a no-coder, I'm an agency now. No, like there is a big part of the client handling that's part of it. I'd like to finish on one thing that I'm super curious about, and probably haven't discussed this before, but it's more of like, what's the future of agency? Is there going to be a Capgemini of no-code, or where is this agency thing going in the no-code space? Do you think that it's all going to be merged? Or do you think it's going to have 2 different separate worlds, being one Capgemini real and one Capgemini no code? And that's just an image, obviously. So yeah, if you want to...
I think maybe in the long run, you could have two kind of agencies. The one that are really just no code and almost no code with no code. And the one that doing no code plus code very often. And that can build stuff that just no code can't do. So these two types.
Okay.
I think the question of market size also, I guess, today, when you speak with Make, Workato, some others, they all try to work with EY, Capgemini, and it's not possible for them today because they don't consider them as real business for them, because they are thinking in millions and not in hundreds or thousands of euros. So once the market is going to go, I guess they are going to have consideration to what we are doing here. It will take 2 to 5 years, I guess. So we have this time to move forward on NoCode. But again, my personal thinking is that the culture of code as NoCode is so different. We tried, for instance, to launch Alegria Academy with a code school, and it was really a fail because the culture was really very different. So I guess we are going to continue those two worlds. And of course, if you are making money one time, the market is going to be interesting for them. And for sure, you will have merge and acquisition on those markets like in all the other markets.
All right.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I think in the same page that you have mainly and numerous very specialized no-code tools, you'll have very specialized no-code agencies too, and because you have ops issues, you have app issues, I think in the long run you'll have big ones that are working with special one, and I think it's not very different than what we saw in the traditional development before.
Awesome. Yeah, I think it's so exciting to see all that building, and I always do the parallel with the API community and the API movement. Like this has started 10 years ago, and it feels so mature now, and you can feel it. Like when you go to talks, etc., you're like, wow, only IBM's, Google, whatever, and it's like, wow, this is so enterprisey, and I think it's just so the beginning, and I'm so excited that we are all part of this, so thank you very much. I will like to just finish on what's the updates, like where can you find all of you? So what are there updates on Superforge, or where can we find you, and for what can we contact you?
Yes, we can. You can contact us for any web apps, mostly, you want to build, or MVPs if you want to test an idea. And any updates, I would say we work really hard on not just the no-code part, but also before the product and the design, because it's also, when you build a digital project, it's just not no-code, it's really a real set of expertise, and product and design is a real important part, and that's it.
All right, thank you very much. What about you, Francis?
Yes, for us, you know that in the no-code culture, sharing is very important. So we decided to go a step ahead of this and not just saying words. So we opened our capital to a crowd equity fundraising. We are very happy to have more than 150 new investors. It's finishing those days for 1 million euros. And we really wanted to share the success of Alegria with our community of makers. And you said, what is the difference between freelancers, agencies? We really try to merge both in our ecosystem, and it was very important for us to have them also in our capital, and again to share what we are creating with them. So we are continuing in this move, and you have a lot of things coming for 2023.
Exciting, super cool. Thanks.
Yeah, and for us, for 3 years, we saw a lot of web apps and projects, mainly on Bubble, and then we tried to work with all other tools, make it Bubble. But we have faced a very big issue of resources for 3 years. We had to train a lot internally because NoCode is very young, not young, the tools are 10 years from now, but the democratization is something very young. So it's very hard to find resources on the market, and it's very cool to see that there is a lot of initiative on this subject for 1 year, Alegria Academy, Auto, we have a lot of bootcamps that just emerge, and now it's time for us too, because we just raised 2 million euros to launch Builders, a new company, which is a bootcamp that will try to form and to train non-tech profiles during 8 weeks of intense and presential bootcamp, mainly for non-tech profile to introduce web through no-code tools, speaking about database, automation, and interface. So we are very excited about this, and we hope that we can help a lot the community with this.
Awesome. That's new, right? Yeah, it's
yesterday, the communication.
Okay. Awesome. Wow. Exciting. Thank you very much. Thanks for all being here. You. Give them a big round of applause. And hope we'll see you around. I think you're all over there. So yeah, thanks. All right.